Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Welcome to another episode of the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. My name is Alex Morgan, and I'm a master trainer of hypnosis and NLP. And in this episode, we welcome Preston Brown. He is not your average entrepreneur. Preston is a force to be reckoned with in the business world. He's a sought-after speaker, a true visionary, and a master of business automation. Brace yourself for an inspiring journey through his remarkable achievements and unwavering passion for scaling and optimizing companies to unprecedented heights of profit and automation. Because as Preston says, if you can't optimize and automate your companies to step out, you don't have a business, you have a job. All right, welcome Preston. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Glad to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. We can go ahead and jump right into it here since you're really good at taking businesses to the next level. So how can you determine when you're working with someone, how do you determine what can get them to the next level? Do you have certain criteria or something you go off of? Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah. So everything for me is formula driven and framework driven. I like things that can be simply duplicated and replicated. It should be a vehicle that you're able to get in that accelerates you to the place that you're going. Like you could walk where you're going, or you could drive a Hyundai or a Ferrari. Like the better business might be a Ferrari, right? That Ferrari is just a set of systems. So I've developed a system for identifying where a business is at, what stages in that business they have hit and or moved through or stayed in. There's 7 that I've identified. And then I know that there's common theme problems in each stage. So I generally, when I'm going in and I'm listening to an entrepreneur or business owner talk to me about like, hey, I'm really having this problem, I'm trying to kind of link their problems to certain stages. Once I can link their problems to certain stages, I can find out kind of where they are at. If you want to look at it kind of like a staircase, imagine a staircase with 7 steps. Normally when a person is on a staircase, they're not stagnant. They're not staying there. The staircase is the most boring fucking place in the house. You wouldn't stay there. You're only on that place in the house because you want to get here or go there, right? Like it's nothing but a travel spot. So you're not on a step. You're on 1 step to 3 steps, depending on like how your tempo is with walking, right? And so I've seen businesses in all 7 stages. I've seen businesses in all 7 steps. Like imagine doing the splits on a staircase. Like it is a very uncomfortable place to do the splits. I don't recommend doing splits, not on a staircase, but on a staircase would really suck. I mean, especially if you have any parts down there that you don't want bruised. When you could find the problems in the lowest stage and solve for those, people will naturally oscillate a little higher. Then you get them balanced on 1 step. And you're like, all right, well, let's go create some new problems here on this next stage. You solve those and you're getting into the growth, and you solve this one. And it's the process of traveling and creating regenerative growth solutions that are constantly solving that same solution. So the problem is not going to continue persisting, and isolate it there and help people get to the next level.
Cool. That's what life's all about, is getting to the next level, achieving new things. So I definitely agree with that. I've been watching some of your stuff on social media, and you're really into culture and things like that within companies, businesses, organizations. So when you're looking at a culture, are you usually working with bigger companies, smaller companies? Does it really matter? Like, how do you really create that culture for that company to drive them up those levels?
Really good question. So the culture in the business is, it's everything, right? Like and I guess everybody says that everything is everything, right? Like, so your capacity is also everything, and your cash flow is also everything. But it's so critically important. Like that culture, like if you think about the word culture, like cult, right? What is a cult? Like a cult is a group that has the same general identity, beliefs, and values, and they go and do a certain thing. Like you can have the kind of cult that like drinks the Kool-Aid and dies thinking aliens are going to pick them up or some shit. And then you can have the cult that's like, hey, we really need to solve for climate change, or hey, we need to really solve for people not paying enough, or, hey, we need to create the best product. Like, so a culture is a group identity within a business. And if you look it up, you define it, you study it, you find that culture is really behavioral moderation. We all need to act in a certain way by the same taboos. And you got to answer to create a culture, several different things, right? Like, so, the kind of the biggest paradox you got to solve in culture, at least up front, is the paradox of safety and danger. The most dangerous person in a business has got to be the owner. Like, he's got to be willing to cut out the cancers and fire people. But his main job, or her main job, is to create safety for the team. So that guy who's dangerous creates safety, or that gal who's dangerous creates safety for the team, which makes them feel great working there and wanting to produce his product. When they're producing a product, you got to have an understanding of, okay, well, are we going to be like Apple, who's creating, billions of iPhones and selling them to 60% of Earth? Or are we going to be like a small niche product for, like, say, 100 people? Like, so you got to know your production level, right? And everybody always wants growth, but growth is not always bigger. Sometimes it's better brand, higher margin. Sometimes, so growth is nuanced depending on the type of the business and the problem you solve, right? Like, your sales is a solution to a problem. So the next one you want to look at is quality. Like, a lot of people don't understand how to create a quality product because they don't understand what the customer really wants and needs. So they're going to focus on, well, how do I do this at the lowest price? And then I'll just create a narrative and talk shit about everybody else. So the paradox of quality is, do I go quality or narrative? Narrative's easier, quality is better, and it's far more sustainable. Mission, vision, values, like, you have to communicate who you are. That's the next one. And then last is tribal triggers. Like, I mean, you look at any person, they want to be part of a group, they want to be part of a tribe, right? Like, I mean, if you go to any sports game ever, like, you'll see the big foam fingers, you'll see people, or whatever their, like, little theme is. Like, what's your trigger? Like, what is it that you have? Like, my office, we've always got music playing, we've always got jokes. Like, we have more of a politically incorrect, fun culture where there's nothing off limits to talk about, right? Like, and so it creates free thinking, new ideas, constant innovation. And you go to most businesses, they're like, whoa, you can't say that, you'll offend somebody. The EEOC, we're scared. And I'm like, oh, no, fuck that. Like, let's have real conversations as humans do. Like, and some people will tell me, oh, that's a real high risk tribal trigger. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you hire assholes. So don't. Like, have some things to prevent yourself from hiring assholes, and you won't have those problems. So, I mean, you master those 5 things, you'll create an amazing culture, and people will really want to work there and deliver your product.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. One of the things that stood out to me when you were talking about growth could mean different things, adjusting the margins, or not necessarily always selling more, but creating kind of success. So how can someone grow and make it sustainable for, let's say, like, the infrastructure, the foundation that they already have in their business without, like, harming it in any way? Because a lot of people think, oh, we have to grow so much, when it's like, hold on, we could maybe even tweak a few things and also grow at the same time.
So, great question. And growth should always be based on reality, not ideology. I don't find a lot of entrepreneurs doing the wrong thing. I find them doing the right thing at the wrong stage of their business, right? Or the right thing for somebody else's values, which would be ideology, not reality. Like, I say you want to grow your tax savings, so you go buy an airplane because you get 60% bonus depreciation. Well, cool. Except if you're a startup, it's a really stupid idea. Like, you're following somebody else's ideology because they said some shit on Instagram rather than doing what you should be doing based on your reality. Like, growth in reality, I see so many, I mean, especially like I'm big in the real estate community, right? Like, a lot of my businesses are synergized around real estate. I have brokerage, I have production home building, I have title, I have all these things. So, like, realtors and loan officers and these types of folks specifically who are in that area, they always want more. And, like, there's a reality of how much you can handle. Like, there's a reality of, like, how many people you're going to need to increase your capacity, to increase your throughput flows. That just seems to be, like, outside of most people's purview, where they have this ideology that, oh, I can close 300 deals a year. I'm like, how? How are you going to do that? Like, 300 deals a year is like what is that? 25 a month? So you're going to close a deal every single workday. How many people are on your team? How many? And they just don't have any of the setup. Like, if you closed, 10 deals last year, like, okay, like, let's get to 1 a month. Let's get paid monthly. Like, what if we could get to 2 a month without increasing any of your fixed costs? Like the pay increase would be dynamic. You're double your money. Like, and so growth based on reality over ideology is what I would always promote. And then you got to know what kinds of growth you can have. Like you can have growth of sales, growth of margin, growth of brand. You can have growth of your own capacity, which could be adding teams, adding staffers. You normally don't need all of those different growths at the same time. Like it's impossible to focus on 4 things. Like, Alex, I'm a married guy. And I could go and say, you know what? I want growth. I want growth in my sex life. Now I could go this two ways. I could go and like make my wife much happier, or I could go meet a bunch of girls at the bar. One of those is going to fuck up my relationship, and the other one might be a really good thing for me. So you got to kind of think like, okay, well, what is the growth I want? What is the way to do it? And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So, I mean, pardon the controversial comments, but people actually remember it. So they think that way, right?
Totally agree. People will remember, if, especially with different stories like this, if they can relate, then they're totally going to remember because it'll get right into their unconscious mind if they have some emotions attached to that. So when we're talking growth and all of this, when people work with you with their business, who's kind of your ideal audience, or what kind of results can they expect? I mean, a lot of people, they want results, so let's hear what they can expect.
So I don't work directly with people as much anymore. Like, I mean, I'm still called every now and then, and they'll pay me a large sum of money, and I'll go and look at their business for a week. That's the only type of kind of direct work I'm doing with anybody. The results they get is, I mean, enormous. Like we will go in and we will identify the problems in their company. And if you solve the right problems, you get the right solutions, you're going to advance stages. And I mean, the difference between going from, say, a mid-level stage where you're managing by crisis and you're jumping through hoops and all that, and getting to what I call the operational megapreneur is you get to buy the Ferrari, you get to buy the airplanes, you get to have the lifestyle, you get time with your family. You'll have new problems, they're tax problems. We should look into that shit and figure out like which country are you in, what are the politicians passing laws on, like what are the abatements or benefits you can get by investing in certain things that fits the narrative of the government and their culture. But owning the Ferrari and having a new problem is far better than not owning the Ferrari and having a problem of I'm managing my crisis. Like, I'd rather know my kids than my crisis. So we get them huge results. And I think my team charges us $50,000 up front. And I go spend a week in your company. Those are generally companies doing 5 to 15 million in revenue that can afford that, right? I have a program that's for everyone, and it's just on my website, which I think is like automateyou.com or automateme.com. Like, we can put it in the group. I'll send it over to you. It's so new that I don't even remember my damn website name, right? But it's literally just a masterclass where you get, here's the 7 stages of entrepreneurship. Here's a problem-solving formula. They get that for free. I give that to everyone for free. That costs nothing. People that want to go deeper, I've got 15 different, and they're like 20, 30-minute videos. You can buy them all for $200 each, or you can buy them all at once for $1,000. It is literally, I mean, up for the thousands and thousands of coaching sessions I've done over the last few years, it's 95+% of the sessions were on these 15 items. And so these 15 videos will knock out, I mean, and the other sessions were generally nuanced. It was generally something personal. We had to go in and solve a personal thing for a person. If you're having a divorce, definitely go have, I mean, that will affect your business. Go solve for that before you're trying to solve something in business. But that was the other 5%, right? Like 95% was on these 15 different videos that people can buy for $1,000. I mean, we've gotten huge feedback that it is just changing lives. People are going in there and they're like, oh my God, I paid $30,000 for coaching this year with this coaching company. Then I bought your course for $1,000 and it's 15 videos that I can watch in 4 hours or less. And they're getting a fucking college degree and solving their problems. Like, so that's the normal way that people work with me, even though they're not working directly with me. And I think that's the most impactful. I mean, even if you have that $15 million like revenue company and you're like, oh, I want you to come in, do me a favor, do that first. We'll solve higher level problem, Yeah,
that's definitely what it's all about. Is because, I mean, at one point I went bankrupt. So, I mean, the problems I had then, years and years ago, compared to the problems I have now are totally different. So when you're leveling up, you end up getting problems. They're just a more high-level problems. So why not, always shoot for something that's going to be bigger and bigger? It's like not, go bigger, go home. It's go bigger, go bigger. Now, you've been an entrepreneur for many years. So I kind of want to dive into how you think about all of this stuff. Why ultimately did you want to start like scaling businesses? Like what's important to you about that so people can kind of know how you think and what motivates you?
Oh, why ultimately? I mean, look, I think I started for all the wrong reasons, honestly. Like, and I'll give you the brief version. My dad got cheated. He was a guy that worked hard his entire life, got cheated by a guy when I was very young, and I watched him get cheated as he tried to start his own business. And he had to drop it. He gave up on his dreams. He worked a job for the rest of his life. And on that day when he got cheated, I learned that love was not the meaning of life as I understood in the previous 7 years of my existence. I learned that money was the meaning of life, and I became a corporate dickhead. I went and built companies. I was the "you're fired" guy. Like, if people thought Trump was a dick, they would have hated me. Like, I was disgusting. And so I built companies because I wanted to solve the money problem, because I was internally needing to solve for my dad because he got cheated. Like, that sins of the father, sins of the son thing, that's a real thing, right? And 2019, worst day of my life and best day of my life. My dad passed. Like, he went home. And I had spent my whole life chasing money, and I hadn't spent time with the guy who's, the most important moment of my life when I was 7 years old was like, hey, it's money. Go do money. I'm solving for his pain, right? And like, so, and I ripped myself apart. Like, I'd never spent time with him the way I should have. Yeah, man, I was mad at myself. I was mad at him for leaving. I was mad at God. I was so pissed. And it brought me back, and I had to do a lot of deep work. And I learned, like, wow, it's not money that's the meaning of life. It's love is the meaning of life. And how can we use this? And so, the journey changes, right? Like, I did it to solve a money problem. Now I don't have money problems. I have multiple airplanes. I have lots of businesses. I have the lifestyle of dreams. I've got the cutest kids in the world. I've got a super hot wife. Like, if you see her, you're like, wow, that motherfucker can sell. Or, man, she must need glasses, or some shit like that. Like, I've got like the perfect fucking life. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this entrepreneur stuff is the real deal. Like, people can get rich. They can get free. And then you know what happens when they do? Like, man, a few weeks ago, I was in Mexico, and we all went to Cabo, stayed at this great hotel. Like, some of us snuck off, and we went to a riverbed where there's like thousands of people living in this riverbed. And we made sure that these people had like food. We funded a charity that's going to go for at least the next 5 or 6 months because of the money that we raise. And like, they feed tens of thousands of kids in a riverbed. Like, when you make people who are, maybe in need, and they're money hungry at some point, and that's why like me. When you make them happy and you meet all their needs, so what's really interesting is they'll become pretty generous. They become pretty loving. They go solve the pain that they have. Like, I like helping people in poverty. Why? I was in poverty. What am I going to do? I'm going to go solve my fucking story, right? Like, I mean, and that's generally what happens. So that now I'm just compelled to do podcasts like this and have people follow me on social media and get free advice. And if they want a little more, go spend $1,000 or buy the courses if one at a time, if that's what you can afford, and like, build your business, get free, like, have an amazing life. Like, life's 4 parts, right? Like, faith, family, fitness, finance. And there's this optional piece, this optional 5th part that's not a need. Let's call it fun. I like to put the FU in fun. But these 4 needs, right? Like faith, family, fitness, finance, energy in, energy expressed, health, well-being, and then money, like your ability to survive in an economic world that has like some scarcity to it, right? Well, if progress equals happiness, there's an anchor on one of those 4 things. Like, it might be like, hey, you know what? I have a faith problem, or I have a family problem, or I have a fitness problem, if you have a fitness problem, if you have stage 4 cancer, you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to be like, man, I better go listen to Alex and Preston today and talk about how to make millions of dollars. No, you're going to go see your fucking kids, right? Like, you're going to go like spend time with your family. Whereas if you don't feel loved, you're probably not going to care about this shit. Like, or maybe this is the only way that you ever meet your needs is by getting money. Like, if you're like me. And then you start realizing, oh shit, there's some good stuff here. But what if we could balance all 4? Like, what if all 4 were possible? You have life problems, you have money problems. Oh shit, we get rid of life problems. Or get rid of money problems. We got 2 hands for those life problems. It's way easier to balance it, right?
Yeah, it's all about that balance, I think. So are there certain things that you do now to maintain like a really good balance? Because obviously a lot of people there's a lot of stuff on social media as well, like hustle, grind, team no sleep, all this stuff. And to me, I'm always like, no, that's no way to live. So what advice would you give to people so they can have balance while they're building a dynamic, efficient, really good, profitable business?
I'll give you a few pieces of advice. I mean, 1, don't listen to stupid sales pitches. Okay, like stupid sales pitches. Anytime you get that like feeling like, I don't know, like there's something off here. Oh, hustle, never sleep. That's a stupid fucking sales pitch because your body needs sleep. We have science around this that is not new, okay? Like, this is not Tony Fauci science. This is real fucking science. Like, it's not new. You need sleep, okay? So, like, I mean, wake up. Like, two, next piece of advice. Realize that problems are gifts. Like, life's not supposed to be perfect, and your greatest moments in life are generally also your worst moments in life that you learn something from. That's why I say best day and worst day of my life, same day. It's the day I lost my dad. But it's the day I got my soul back, if that makes sense. Like, I've been living somebody that wasn't me. I've been living out of reactionary pain. You know, maybe the next thing, especially for the entrepreneur group, the folks that are probably going to be watching your podcast, realize that ownership, we all think it's about possession. It's not, okay? Well, ownership is about responsibility. Ownership gets you responsibility. Responsibility gets you possession. And so when you start like bridging those gaps, you realize, well, shoot, I was thinking ownership was possession. I'm going to go, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I want an airplane and I want a car and I want this. And that's all fucking possession shit, man. Like, entrepreneurship's about responsibility. It's about serving somebody. It's about helping somebody. It's about creating a product that's better. It's about innovating. It's about, like even compare it, nuance it to children, right? Like, if we look at kids, like, my kids have fun. They own fun. They own it. Like, that's their shit. Like, nobody can take it away from them. You can put them in any situation on the planet, and they find a way to play. Now, if I go look at almost every adult out there, they have lost this ability. They do not own fun. My kids take responsibility for fun. They own it. And therefore, they possess this joyous spirit that is beautiful. And you know what? It's not just my kids. It's almost across the board, kids in general. Like, they're not so freaking jaded like the adults are. Like, what if we owned fun? You know what I mean? Like, so, and that works everywhere. And then, another little piece of advice, maybe a tagline. And it's funny because I've been trying to live it as much as possible. Religion is about rules, right? And I mean, I'm spiritual. I'm Christian, all about Jesus, but I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I think, religion is it's a great set of rules to help you avoid hell. Well, spirituality, in whatever context, you're going to follow that. I mean, I have mine and, everybody's got theirs, but it's about going to hell, conquering the shit, and coming back victorious, which buys into problems. Like, we don't live in a world where there's no fucking problems. Like, the biggest problem most people have is we think we shouldn't have problems. That is the definition, maybe not even of insanity, it's the definition of stupidity. So, like, let's not do dumb shit that hurts us. Let's be open to the problems. Let's learn from them and let's grow. That's the best way to have an amazing time. I mean, hopefully that'll help some of your community, because I think a lot of folks out there have these expectations that are here, but these inputs and outputs that are here, and they're judging themselves. Like cut that out immediately and solve the problems here, and you'll actually get there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that'll really help, because a lot of the stuff, like, we were kind of laughing about it on social media, the bad sales advice, it's honestly so ridiculous. There's no need to follow it. I mention it actually on a lot of episodes where I don't have a guest. I reiterate this point because it's just doesn't make any sense to me. If you're working with someone, and have you noticed different reasons why their businesses may fail, and other reasons why, like, hey, this is like the main reason that I see that they're successful? Is it something they're thinking, or is it actually something they're doing, would you say?
I mean, so the answer is yes, but it's a big answer. It's always, when you're failing, it's always you. Okay, so right off the bat, it's always you. And I say that not from a position of attacking anyone, because I have failed so many more times in business than most entrepreneurs that have been at it their entire lives, because I have a lot of businesses and I've invested in a lot of businesses. I failed at some, I've succeeded wildly at others, and then I've had some miserable times where I've lost a bunch, right? Like, so you learn from those failures, but it's always you. Like, the failure's always you. And when we're jumping into like what's causing the failure, what I generally see is nobody teaches this. You can go get mentorship on almost anything in the world, and it's gonna be fairly good. But most of the business experts, even some of the big ones that I've gone and plugged into and paid for, they're experts at selling a product or a service and they charge a mint for it, and they're not necessarily like what they're going to teach you. Some of it's relevant, but it's so complex the way that they frame it that it's almost designed that way. So you have to keep going back for more. Like if I go to your event and your event doesn't leave me with 2 or 3 things to do right now to get to the next level, you failed as a person putting on an event. I don't care if you charge $5,000 or $50,000. Everybody should leave with 2 or 3 things. Now, what they leave with is so much theory. Like information is amazing and it's fun and it's great. And I mean, you can have those conversations, but they do a lot of rah-rah and not enough aha. They charge a huge mint. And so people go out and they're listening to these gurus all over social media. And they're like, that guy has airplanes and that guy has this and that guy has that. And if I give him $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever, I can be there too. No, giving him that is not going to get you there. What'll probably get you there is convincing other people to give you $50,000 so they can have the life that you pretend is fucking great. Things that people should learn in business is 1, go find a mentor. 2, make sure the mentor has the real life you want. If you're not able to investigate it and get very, very close, do not give them money, okay? If there's some kind of separation, like guy asked me, hey man, can I have your phone number? I'd love to call you and maybe have my kid ride around in your McLaren. Fuck yeah, man, bring him over to the house next weekend. Yeah, do that shit. And if he calls like an asshole, I can push block like any other human being. Like if there's this guru that you're so fucking like impressed with and you can't get the phone number, run. They're full of shit. Or at least like on a group call. I mean, I could see if somebody's like, George Clooney or Bruce Willis or some shit like that, and maybe they don't give out their phone number. For the most part, these people are not special. I mean, learning how to do accounting, learning the psychology behind marketing and sales, understanding throughput and capacity and the theory of constraints and how you subordinate a business to the constraint, understanding returns. Oh, there's a return on cash. Oh, okay. Well, what about like maybe a return on emotion? What about return on your balance sheet equity? What about return on time? Like what about return on debt? Like there's more than one return. Like this is not rocket science. There's just a when to apply which piece and which problems to solve at which stage. And that is not changing and has not changed in the history of business. There's some new things, like there's technology, there's AI, there's some pieces that they weren't dealing with 100 years ago, but even that's not so fucking revolutionary that you need to go give somebody 85 or 150 grand a year so that maybe you can be there too. Like everyone can be there. Everyone can be there, but you need to get the right type of mentorship and you need to vet your mentors. I mean, when I'm asking anybody to listen to what I'm saying, I actually don't want their money up front. I don't want their money. Go follow my social media, look at the advice, plug that in, use that for a month or 6. If that works, then, hey, you know what? Then dive in. Then dive in and go spend $1,000. You know what? Will not hurt you if at that point you've already made more than $1,000. You're reinvesting from your gains. You follow me? Like at that point, if you're like, fuck man, I'm doing 15, 25 million in revenue, but I really need to figure out the last pieces because, oh man, I'm all over the place, or I don't understand how to see the difference between like say foresight and forecasting. I mean, it's a big piece, right? Like, an economist is going to do a lot more forecasting. Somebody driving a car is going to do foresight. You're going to look out the window and not hit shit. And at a certain stage, you need both, right? But at the beginning stages, you just need foresight. You just need to not crash into shit because some guru told you some dumb shit, okay? Reinvest because of the value you receive. Like if you get some really good information for free on a YouTube video, and not necessarily for me, for any, right? And that person, because of their advice, content, whatever, helps you, maybe go call them. That would be my thoughts. Like most people are not failing for any other reason other than they're listening to all the wrong sources. They're getting bad. Have you ever heard the customer's always right? Like I have customers, Alex, and these people are amazing. They like, I have some customers. I generally fire these ones, but I've had some in the past and they're not right. Like I say, I'll be building a home for them. They're like, one guy, like, and this is years ago. I wasn't even the builder at this point. I worked for the builder. The guy's like, I want to make sure they did the insulation right. He's walking through the house, hitting the walls with a fucking hammer. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm verifying because I don't trust you. And I'm like, you're going to pay to fix it. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm the customer. And I was like, you're fired. And I'm sending you a letter from an attorney because you're a dick. Okay? Like the customer is not always right, but I hear that shit said all the time. Like, How about the customer is more right than my competitor's customer? That'd be a smart thing to say. Like, say smart shit, not dumb shit. How about it takes money to make money? Okay. Well, then how come so many second-generation wealthy people go broke? They had the money, but they didn't have a fucking brain. They were entitled little shits. They didn't have an idea or a clue. Like, I know so many first-generation people that are wealthy that absolutely could prove you wrong anytime you say dumb shit like it takes money to make money. Like, stupid shit. If you are saying stupid shit or believing stupid shit or falling in love with some tagline that some guru said in front of his airplane, like, I have 2 fucking airplanes. If you go through my social media, I might have 1 picture on all my fucking social medias of my airplanes. You know why? Because I don't want you to see it. My social media manager is like, we need more pictures in front of you, in front of your cars. So I did a fucking video, right? Like, I was like, okay, guys, I'm doing this video in front of my McLaren. You know why? So that all the stupid ones of you will listen to me. This is an expense. This is a fucking expense. This is not an asset. This is a dumb fucking idea. You should not buy this item unless you have so much fucking money that you can make big, stupid, dumb fucking expenses with. Like, this is not an asset. There is nothing good about this. This does not say I'm rich. This says I made a dumb decision financially. Now, what's cool? If you have a lot of money, you can make bigger, dumb decisions. Airplanes, or most people, unless you are literally on a different stage every week, are dumb decisions. I'm a bougie motherfucker and I like not flying commercial. So I bought 2. But it's not a great asset. Can it save you on taxes in the right situation? Sure. But it's not a great asset. Like, it's a fucking expense. But they're going to see it. They're going to be like, that guy's rich, I'll follow him. So I made a video making fun of all the people that follow people because of the fucking car in front of my car.
No, that's...
Your questions, brother.
Yeah, that definitely helps, because when the comment that you made, like, it takes money to make money, about the generations of people with wealth, it all comes down to how we think and making good decisions, I think, is what I really got out of that. The people listening, they'll get whatever they got out of that as well. So I think we had a really good conversation here. I know you're a big social media guy. Can you tell people where they can find you and all of that before we wrap things up here?
Absolutely. I'm on the Preston Brown. THE Preston Brown. PRESTON BROWN. I would have just got my name, but there's some more handsome dude with just my name than me, so you got to put THE and then my name. And like, look, the content's all put there. I pay people literally to just get this stuff out. I've got a videographer next to me filming so they can put more stuff on social media, because it's not hard to become successful. Like, go get successful. It is. I mean, I'm going to just tell you, like, all the people are like, oh, money won't make you happy. That's another stupid one. No shit, money won't make you happy. But money makes things a lot easier. Like, oh, you know what? That's like saying, sex doesn't make a marriage. Okay, great. But have a marriage with no sex. You will eventually cheat. It probably won't work out very well. Like, so more money, better. Like, we're all human. We all want the same shit. We all want more. So go to the Preston Brown on any of the social medias. And I'm right there. Please take free advice. If you're not easily triggered, you will have fun with it. You will love it. It will make you more money. You will find common sense solutions to your problems. And then if you ever want to do business with me, that'll be fun too.
Well, everyone, you heard it. That's where you find the Preston Brown, because someone better looking, I guess, already has the accounts. Thanks, Preston, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you being here and sharing all your knowledge.
Thanks, Alex. Privilege.
So thanks for listening. And wherever you listen to this podcast, please rate the podcast so it can get into the minds of more people. And I'd love to hear your feedback. And I hope to see you on the next episode.